Well, so it's the start of another week. Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to The Pulse. We are coming to you live from our studios here in Accra. Don't forget that we are also on your digital terrestrial TV because we are free to air. You can catch us live on DSTV channel 421, Go TV channel 144. This is JoyNews, independent, fearless, and credible journalism. This afternoon, government considers liquidating unprofitable state-owned enterprises after it emerged that the entities made losses of more than 53 billion Ghana cedis last year.
Implement real-time accounting system and real-time operational structures, because now we have the digital infrastructure that will enable one company see its operation from one computer screen, a laptop in front of the manager here, and see what is happening internally. Boko, who, Takrade, do you understand? You use technology.
Well, stay with us here on The Pulse. There are more revelations for you. The entities are blaming this on COVID-19, but government is having none of that. We have an exclusive interview for you here on The Pulse. Also coming up today, we understand and we'll be analyzing the Ghana Public Safety and Crime Report for 2021, which shows violent crimes have gone up by more than 40% over events in 2020. Details plus a conversation with the Executive Director for the Bureau of Public Safety. Also, the Ghana Revenue Authority is racing against time to finalize modalities for the implementation of the electronic transaction levy as it emerges employee salaries and other payments from corporate Momo accounts could be affected by the law. We hear from GRA as consultations are going on with the Finance Ministry on this matter.
It's something that has come to our attention. We've referred it to our superiors to look at it.
Okay.
For now, the law seems to have captured everybody. Disbursements from corporate mobile accounts.
My name is Blessed Sogah. Don't forget that The Pulse is brought to you by Global Communities Dignity Low, affordable, safe sanitation. This afternoon, we are also streaming live on YouTube and all of our social media handles. You can join us at JoyNews on TV, Twitter us with the hashtag The Pulse. My personal handle is at Blessed Sogah. Always a pleasure serving you here on The Pulse. Stay. Well, so this afternoon, here's the big deal. Government has actually served notice that it will be selling off some unprofitable state agencies if they fail to turn the tide. The decision actually follows a 2020 state ownership report released by the Finance Ministry, which recorded a 5.3 billion cedis loss by state-owned enterprises. The ministry, however, says that the figure represents nearly 50% of an improvement on the 2019 aggregate net loss. But there's a need for us to break all of this down for you, and you have it right here on the screens. And I'm also sure that you'll be getting that on your screens right now, giving the public outcry. A lot of search has gone into how our state-owned enterprises are faring and how much losses they are making. We've been assessing, for instance, the case in the energy sector for you. Here's a picture of how some of these state-owned enterprises are faring. So, for instance, take a look at the Electricity Company of Ghana. They were in the news very recently, and they were complaining about giving timelines and many organizations not paying up their bills. So here's their case, for instance. ECG as of 2020, and we have some of the figures here, 22,680 68 Ghana cedis, for instance, and these are amounts, various amounts that they are owing. You look at the trend in 2019, 2018, and then 2012, you see that the figure keeps increasing in terms of the amounts. Right from 2016, when they were owing in excess of or indebted in excess of some 10 million Ghana cedis, we know that that has grown into some 22 million cedis. And that's not all. There are more enterprises and state-owned institutions here on this chart for you. Bost is on it. A total of about 14, for instance, institutions in the energy sector. And if you look at the total, it's all amounting to some 50,714 million cedis. That's in 2016. But then the figures keep increasing all the way into 2020. But 2020 is far better as compared to 2019, because in 2019, there was some 83,301 million cedis that was recorded as a loss. But now we know that that figure has come down a bit, but it's still raging somewhere around a figure that is lesser than what we recorded in 2019. We know the government has also been indicating that it will be taking some critical measures to deal with indebtedness in the public sector, because mind you, this is not a problem just facing the energy institutions as well. We know that BOST is not the only institution in the energy sector. There are a total of about some 14 and more, and also some state-owned enterprises that are indebted. So what is government doing about all of this, and how do they intend to make our state-owned enterprises more profitable? There's a need for us to hear from the authorities, and that's why, giving the public outcry over the inefficiencies in the public sector, I of course, engaged the sector minister, Joseph Kujo, who's in charge of state enterprises. And I started by asking him why there is so much massive failure in the public sector. Here's his response. And in fact, he reveals that government may be selling some non or unprofitable state agencies. Listen.
And it is understandable. You and I, we collect our taxes, give to the state enterprises, and they just spend the taxes and start calling for more capital injection. Whereas their counterparts in the private sector, from industry to industry, if you take the telecommunications industry, if you take transport industry, you take housing industry, you take health services delivery industry, across all the industry spectrum, what you see is that private sector enterprises flourishing, generating profits, and paying dividend to the shareholder, who is the investor. But the same thing is not happening in the public sector space. This government shares the vision to turn the narrative around. So this asset in respect of Ghana Post, which has been given to them, has been given to them on the back of very solid business proposal, just like any private enterprise would do. So you have ideas, you have projections, you need asset support to realize those ideas and generate the needed revenue, pay your staff well, and be able to pay your taxes and pay dividend to government or state as an investor. That is the product, the delivery that has been done. Ghana Post, fortunately, has rolled out a product that combines the human resource or the staffing level they have together with the huge asset base they hold on their balance sheet and the technological environment the government has also delivered, the opportunity for the data infrastructure to be used and talents of the youth to be enhanced in developing apps and internet-based products and so on. That is the narrative of the Ghana Post today.
So you're expecting that to be more
So we're expecting them to be able to operate efficiently and generate the profits and be able to pay taxes and dividends to government as a major, as the shareholder, sole shareholder in Ghana Post.
Now, we know that Ghana Post is not the only state-owned enterprise. There are so many of them out there, and many of them are struggling. In fact, there's a recent report out there pointing out that some agencies, particularly in the energy sector, are running at a loss, and that's coming at a huge cost to government. What are you doing to address some of these inefficiencies in the public sector?
Yes. If you table the problem to the level of inefficiency, then inefficiency is the easiest to solve with technology. You can't change people's mind. You can't change people's attitude and the operational structure they have now overnight. But if you introduce technology in operations, you begin to address the inefficiencies.
But some are saying you should rather go after these people and punish them and recoup government funds. These are funds that are for the taxpayer. Why not going for these amounts that we are losing?
Very, very good you brought this point up. Let me use the opportunity to educate all of us. When an enterprise, a company, is operating at losses, you assess the source of the losses. It may be market-driven losses. For example, you're operating in a COVID environment. Your Joy FM may say sack some people, or let them take half pay and survive the situation. But when you see loss reported, you won't go and fire the CEO, will you? because the environment did not permit profitable operations. Similarly, the state enterprise also operates in an environment. So you look at the environmental analysis and make sure that that general problem is sorted, like the enterprise models its operations to survive in that environment first, before you can point an accusing finger of non-performance on the CEO and staff. Sometimes it is customers who do not pay when you provide services to them. Why would you complain? Introduce.
But some would say if you look at the reports from 2019, and this is not starting now, the trend has been that there's inefficiency in the public sector. So what are you going to do to tackle this, aside the use of energy, technology? Are you going to go for these funds or perhaps cut down government resources to these entities? What are you going to do practically to solve the situation?
Listen to this. First and foremost, at the policy level, Ministry of Finance is not going to write a check to give to state enterprises when they run it down, like it's been happening since independence.
You're not doing that anymore?
No, not that anymore. That's why you can see Ghana Post. I'm praising them for having taken the lead to come out with products and services that meet market needs and generate revenue and generate growth from within, because all of them have assets. When it comes to inefficiency, I'll repeat, you address inefficiencies through training and use of technology. I'll give you an example of...
So you don't believe it's a problem of corruption? You don't believe that?
Listen, how do you solve problem of corruption? That is, go after them. You know, rule of law. So go after them means that I should spend my energy. One maybe corrupt practice or a customer who has defaulted, I should be spending energy going after customers at court. 173 plus state enterprises. Can that be done? No. You say, I've told them, every state enterprise must implement real-time accounting system and real-time operational structures, because now we have the digital infrastructure that will enable one company see its operation from one computer screen, a laptop in front of the manager here, and see what is happening internally. Boko, who, Takrade. Do you understand? You use technology. And once you can efficiently manage real-time accounting, for example, will ensure speedy, audited financial statement delivery for decision-making, so far as the boards are concerned, so far as management team is concerned. So real-time accounting solutions, digitalization of their operations should be possible. Imagine the banks that hold in excess 100 branches. If they don't operate on digital platform, you withdraw money, your account is debited. There's a screen somewhere. Are you getting? This is the direction you should go. It also checks corruption in a more efficient way than looking for a cane and chasing people around. No.
That's not the best approach. But some are also saying, let's do an internal audit of all these state agencies. Perhaps looking at the Sogah report, the problem might be bigger than what is happening now. What's your take on that?
My take on that is that, first, you can't even manage what you cannot measure. I don't know how anybody can manage effectively what you can't measure. So, financial and operating reports, financial reports, operations reports are the ones that should be up to date. When I took this position, I've been visiting some enterprises. There you can see operational inefficiencies. You can see lack of financial reporting to even meet financial reporting compliance. Simple. Implement the solutions. They are there. Real-time accounting system, real-time enterprise resource system are there. Implement them. Let the board, through management, implement these processes. And then you have real-time data to make real-time solutions that are market-driven.
But don't you feel this casts a verdict on on government, and also what some would say is your inability to crack the whip?
Why do we are so negative-minded and crack the whip? I personally believe in enterprise management to mean train the people to do it well. put in place the measures to avoid corruption. Do you understand? And fire the one who has been trained and still subvert the system to be corrupt. Do you understand? That is the level you go to crack the whip. But the person is sitting in an enterprise environment where the environment has caused the manager not to be able to even come out with his best, the environment. And then you are going to punish him for that? Do you understand? So first, you have to provide the environment for the person to be performed. It is at that level that you begin to crack the whip, when you have everything it takes for you to perform, and you are not performing. What I have personally seen is that in the state enterprises space, we have brilliant people capable of delivering the results we want, except that the environment has not been conducive. I'll cite one example.
You mean the civil servants are not helping? Or?
I'll cite one example. We put in place too much or excessive compliance for them. For example, MD of Ghana Post identifies a market opportunity to deliver 10 motorbikes to Ho, for example, to make sure that it captures some market revenues. And then you say you should go to PPA, Public Procurement Act, because we are so minded of stealing more than performance that we say go to PPA. And the next 6 months, the man's proposal is at PPA. He's waiting for PPA to approve. What are you doing? Are you not creating a condition for non-performance? Are you getting me? So this one, you say the solution is any state enterprise incorporated under the company's code, just like MTN incorporated under it, just like tell of the fine companies that are growing, incorporated under the code, and which provide adequate governance structure for them to be market-driven and operate speedily. But when you put your state enterprise under PPA, and 6 months buying even a motorbike becomes a problem, what are you doing? And then you go and punish that MD. Maybe that MD, if he were to find the same private enterprise environment, he would have done better than maybe the private compatriot or the private counterpart. That is what we should begin to think about. It appears as a country, our mind is so directed that...
You feel we are fixated on the CEOs and all of that. But what's your... Yeah.
Negative aspects. And we forget the training, the conducive environment we have to create for people to perform.
But if that has to happen, it has to happen from your quarters. What's your caution to the CEO of the various state corporations in the wake of public outcry that there's a need for efficiency and expediency in the public sector?
My caution is just financial compliance. One word: compliance. You operate in an environment. Comply with the dictates of the environment. Every state enterprise, from transport to housing to post, like Ghana Post, to electricity generation, to VRA, to transmission, to distribution, every sector where the state enterprise is, that sector has compliance. If I say compliance, financial report. If a state enterprise for 12 years, like we met, hasn't prepared financial report, how can you manage such a company? You sign a check, you give to them, it will sink because it's like a sinking hole. Are you getting that? So, compliance. Prepare your financial report, make them up to date. We are in 2022, April. Is your 2021 audited financial report available as dictated by the Public Financial Management Act? Is it available? If it's not available, that's where you begin to crack the whip, because we need it to make decisions going forward. Do you understand? So those compliance, you are in an industry. I'll give another example. You are in an industry. Let's say the financial services sector. State has an enterprise there through NIB. Private sector has an enterprise there through APSA or Sanchat. They are all competing in the same environment for same customers, for them to make revenue, to generate revenue, incur costs, and report profits to shareholders, right? The state enterprise in that sector should comply with reporting standards, just like the private counterpart, APSA, Stanchart, is complying, generating up-to-date reports to management, for management to generate up-to-date report to boards, and for boards to generate up-to-date reports.
So these are some of the things you'll be doing. So briefly, in about a minute or two, what are we to expect in the coming days? Are you going to roll out some new measures?
Yes, we're rolling out measures. We are doing some policies. Equity study, for example, is to look at what we call recommendations. There are 6 entities that the equity study would recommend for cabinet approval to say, for this entity, invite a strategic investor into it. Because the nature of its business and the nature of capital requirements, state cannot. So invite a strategic investor. There are some that you say, take it to the stock market for listing, because private Ghanaians will be interested holding shares of those companies, and by so doing, inject capital anytime that company needs capital. So some will be private, some will be sold off. There are defunct enterprise sitting on assets, and government is using taxpayers' money, paying some security people, and people are demolishing the asset and selling. Something like that you don't hold. You be selling it? Oh, ask you, common sense. When you have a company, you cannot, the company has been run down. It's just defunct. It's not functioning. Collapse. Assets sitting there. Okay? You have to pay security every month to take care of it. You don't have money to pay because they've run it down. You don't have money to pay for it to operate. What will you do? The private man will sell before it reaches even that stage. Do you understand? But sentiment, because of sentiment, will hold on to it and keep using your tax, income tax, when you check your pay slip, your tax, and then they go and pay for that defunct thing in the bush. And you see it run down and down because of sentiment.
So sentiments shouldn't apply here when you start selling, when we see that you're rationalizing and selling these companies.
The questions you have asked me, which one can be solved with sentiments? You see, none. None. That private company, your company, your Joy, if the MD were to use sentiment to manage, I will come and see a collapsed Joy FM. Not growing, I'm telling you for fact. Sentiment doesn't come in if you exact performance from people taking care of your investments. And I mean people taking care of your investments. Sentiment doesn't come in. Of course, those that should deliver welfare services, you separate them.
Okay, they will be exempt from the whole rationalization and sale of defunct companies.
No. They will be expected to, let's say, land commission. If you purchase land before and you know the kind of things they can do to deliver an environment that is conducive for investments. People coming to Ghana to, they say to invest, you definitely need a space. You want to acquire land, and it's taking forever to acquire land. And acquiring land to corruption, frustrations, and so on. Something like that. You are not exacting profits from them, but you are exacting operational efficiency from them. They too, they have the yardstick they should go with. That digitalize your operations. Let somebody go on an app. There is a mobile money that can be used to pay for the service. I can make a search on my phone. You get me? You are creating a conducive environment. The expectation of them will be different from a gayhawk that produces alcohol. Is alcohol a welfare? I think that a Ghana government should produce alcohol for its citizens. So that one, it's an investment. So you go with a mindset that is investment driven, and you make sure that the chief executive is encouraged to turn up products that can be exported, that can be marketed. Are you getting me? So the yardstick for oversighting all of them are different. But the broader picture is that this government has a Minister for Public Enterprises through SIGA, State Interest and Governance Authority, to oversight the state enterprises sector, that space, so that we change the narrative.
Well, let's move on and talk about crime, because a new report by the Bureau of Public Safety shows that the Ashanti region is the murder capital of the country, with about 1 out of every 5 cases taking place somewhere in that region. Now, the report, dubbed the Ghana Public Safety and Crime Report, captured events from January to December 2021 and recorded more than 40% increase in violent crimes. Armed robberies were also rampant in the Ashanti and Greater Accra regions, each recording some 19% of cases. It says that most of the violent crimes recorded in last year took place at places of worship, offices, shops, highways, and entertainment centers, rather than in homes as well. Also, we've been trying to look at the details of that 2021 report by the Bureau of Public Safety. You have the first point here indicating that violent crimes reported in year 2021 increased by 40.8%. Then the story goes on to indicate that there were also reported associated deaths, which increased by some 53.7%. But there's also a case here that the top 3 most reported violent crimes in 2021 are actually murder, manslaughter, and robbery. And then you have the very final one here, which is the aggravated assault. But we also know that that's not all of the details in that report. In fact, there's also another point here which talks about the case in Greater Accra and the Ashanti regions, indicating that these 2 areas reported the highest incident of armed robberies in the country, which with each region actually returning to some 19% of reported armed robbery in 2021. So that's just a bit of the report. In fact, there are more details that we can indicate and bring to you right now. We know that the Ashanti region is the murder capital, as that report is indicating, of the country, returning of course 23% of all homicide cases reported across the country in 2021. And also there's a case about the central region which dominated reports in terms of aggravated assault cases across the country, by returning to some 23% of all aggravated assault cases reported for that particular period. So these are some of the incidents of crime that Bureau of Public Safety talks about, but highlights, for instance, here, the Ashanti region, which it is terming, and the report is using that word, as the murder capital. So what's accounting for all of this, and why are we having such a challenge here in our country? Joining me now is Nana Yawakwada, Executive Director for the Bureau of Public Safety, who is joining us now for a conversation on this. Thank you so much, sir, for your time. So, given the report that we have now, how did you, first of all, come about the findings that we're seeing?
Thank you very much, Blessed, and good afternoon to your viewers. Well, the Public Safety and Crime Report, which started in 2016, has been basically pulled together by picking up reported stories or reported incidents of public safety interest. So we have 9 indicators that we pick from 10 selected online portals. Of course, your portal is inclusive, My Joy Online. We have City Newsroom, GBC, and several others, 10 of them, which are all operating under Ghana's laws and come under the radar of the National Media Commission. These stories or events, once reported, are captured. They are validated through a 72 window. And then once it is validated, it is logged for analysis. This is what we've been doing throughout the year, January 1st to 31st December of each year, weekends and public holidays inclusive. These stories, we pull them together, we analyze them, and we put the data out for public consumption. Of course, since 2017, we have engaged with the police, We have engaged with the National Road Safety Authority. We have engaged with NADMO and all other state actors that we find relevant at each point. There are times, there was a time that we even engaged with the National Ambulance, outfit. And so this year, we are certainly looking forward to engaging with the Ghana Police Service,
right,
engaging with the National Road Safety Authority, among others.
But there are many out there who are interested to know the causative factors. For instance, you go ahead to say that the Ashanti region is the murder capital. That's quite alarming, and there are many wondering, what's really the cause for this?
Well, I wish I could tell you the cause on authority, but from where I sit and the work we have done, we restricted ourselves to just the quantities. So I'm able to share with you quantitatives, just the numbers, raw numbers, and nothing more. Any other thing would be a guesswork, would be an intelligent guess, because probably I'm a watcher of the space and I've been in the space for a while.
Right.
But I see Senior joining us. I'm sure he will share more.
And it's a good time to expand that conversation because obviously Nana Okwada has been looking at the figures, looking at the sharp rise in crime, but there's also a need for us to bring in the security perspective. So since the Bureau of Public Safety has just done the study, let's look at the sciences behind this. Richard is on with us. Richard Kumado is a security analyst. Also, Nana Okwada is with us. So, Nana, just hold on briefly. Richard, so here we are. The Ashanti region is being classified as the murder capital here in the country. Do you agree with that finding? And we're interested in knowing perhaps what's accounting for this. Given your security background, what can you say about the causative factors?
Definitely, if you look at the work Nana Okwada and his team has done over the years, they don't specifically pick particular regions and tag them for which of the crimes or which of the safety measures they are looking for. In this particular report, Ashanti region is leading in murder and Greater Accra region is leading in armed robbery, which means that the permutations have changed. What might be leading murder in Ashanti region might not be the same factors just like in Greater Accra region with armed robbery. One of the things that came to mind when you are talking about murder cases in Ashanti region, from the latest survey I have done in the field, I think a lot of arms are being paraded in Ashanti region, and most people are taking the law into their own hands.
I mean, we don't want to sound alarming, so you would have to provide some data to back that, or perhaps some piece of evidence just to lead us on to what you're talking about.
I've spoken to senior security officers in Ashanti region, and one of the key things that drive some of these murder cases is lack of conclusiveness of many of the murder cases that has come to their notice, irrationalized behavior. And I would have given you the data from the Statistics Bureau of the Ghana Police Service to see the actual causes of what is driving some of these ones. But I think many of the things we can talk about from a scientific perspective and from security intelligence point of view is that once you are having many murder cases in Ashanti region, intelligence officers are interested in what is causing the murder, and they are using arms. It means that a lot of arms have gotten into the fish. These are not using cutlasses or knives or something. These are arms that are being used to murder some other people who might be finding themselves wanted at the other side. Then again, lack of conclusive investigation. Once these two things are done and people are prosecuted for the crimes they've committed, it will lower the numbers drastically.
And Nana Okwada, let's talk about, and Richard, just stay with us. Nana Okwada, let's talk about the Greater Accra region, for instance. Are you concluding that generally security is improving in the national capital?
Well, Blaise, I think the point that Senior Kumado made, and permit me to refer to him as Senior Kumado, when I went to Form 1 in 1989, he was ahead of me.
Interesting.
And he remains my senior in the industry, yes. So he made a point in reference to firearms, and you attempted to moderate him. But the fact is that firearm use in the commission of reported violent crime increased for the third year running. And if you look at it, and this is about 58% in 2021, okay? So, but if you look at the increase from 2019 to 2020, it was just 22%. And from 2020 to 2021, we are looking at 58%. That is phenomenal. And so I don't think that what he said, without a shadow of doubt, I would doubt it, especially when highlight number 8 highlight number 6 indicated that 74% of reported armed robbery cases involve the use of firearms. And 20% of homicides, the murder cases, involve also the use of firearms. I think that he's speaking to the data as it is, and the events that we are drawing these statistics from are actual events that happen. They are not like the desktop research or someone extrapolating anything. These are events that have occurred. And so we want to put that in the back now and then attempt to answer your question.
So, the concern about the national capital, yes.
Great. Greater Accra region, we cannot isolate Greater Accra out of Ghana, say maybe we are not safe in Greater Accra, but we are safe in other regions. I would not want to look at that. At least the data that we have, I wouldn't want to present it in that manner.
Okay.
We attempted to situate all the regions in the areas where the activities were very predominant. And we have said that when it comes to armed robbery cases, Greater Accra and Ashanti region were in the lead. This is a region where armed robbers found it very, very profitable to apply their activities.
Right.
As to whether it means that security is poor or security is excellent, we want to leave that to the police or to the law enforcement agencies.
I mean, but what's the essence of shying away? What's the essence of shying away from the interpretation? I guess that's the main concern out there, right?
Very well, Bless. You know that in this advocacy job, sometimes when you have to meet the people who are the center of it, you don't want to appear to be already condemning them even before you meet them. We have put the data out there. We would want to meet them and share with them what we have seen and make our proposals to them and listen to them. So until we have done that, it will be very difficult for me now to say, especially when only a week or two ago, we had the National Security Minister in the House of Parliament saying that the country is safe. And when this thing came to light on other platforms, I told them, well, I cannot say the country is safe because of the data that I am privy to. I cannot say. Well, of course, the National Security Minister can say because he has a police guard by his side 24/7. The last time when an MP, and may he rest in peace, and apologies to his family, was gunned down, by armed robbers or by robbers, we were told that the country was not safe for them, and immediately they provided them, each of them, with security, close body protection. So they don't live our reality, and we have to push down the reality that we face on a daily basis to them. If you ask me, I'm afraid I don't want to be in the headline saying I have said the country is not safe.
At least judging from the data that you have, you've given us a sense of what's happening across the country. So let's also bring in Richard. So now we're looking for practical solutions. For you, what should be the topmost priority for the security, the law enforcement agencies, the Ghana Police Service, and those involved? Where should we be starting from?
I don't think the data Nanaya and his group put out there will be different from. The deviation will not be so much far from what the Statistics Department of the Ghana Police have.
Yes, precisely. And I guess that's why we're looking for solutions. So for you, what should be the topmost priority? Where do we start from? And how do we get the results?
What I'm about to say as part of the solution is that even if they don't have it, this particular report will get to the decks of the intelligence service of the Ghana Police Service, it will get to immigration, it will get to national security. What they do is that they interpret the data, and by interpreting the data means that armed robbery has become a major issue for us in Greater Accra region. What do? They will increase security surveillance, and they will ensure that the key risk areas where issues of armed robbery has dominated, but the data they have from their daily assignment, they will begin to address it. One of the things they must also do is to collaborate their efforts more. And I believe in collaboration with the other agencies. It helps them to put the right man at the right place, doing the right thing at the right time. And public safety and security is their priority. And I have no doubt they'll be able to diagnose the report and deal with it precisely.
It's a public safety report, which means that obviously there should be the concern about the average citizen out there and those in the public. How do we complement the efforts by the security agencies? Because indeed, if we're to ensure safety, I'm not sure it should be one-sided.
No, definitely public engagement is one of the things you cannot take away from Dan Parry. That has become part of his leadership style. And I encourage him to continue, because when it comes to crime prevention and to gain security compliance in that direction, they need the public as key stakeholders. And with what they have done so far, I know it's a tough job. Right. It's full of uncertainty and complexities, but I believe that once they begin to engage the public and engage people with the requisite skills within and without, they should be able to do a good job. And for that matter, I'm not so much scared of them reading the report and begin to find solutions to them one after the other.
And I'm glad that you're mentioning that big name, the IGP. There's been a lot of expectation on the IGP. The fact that he's performing quite well. That's the general view out there. But looking at the report that we have now, does it cast a verdict on his performance generally?
No, Ghana Police without Dan Parry, you will give them about 3/10. But with Dan Parry, you are tempted to give them 6 or 7/10.
Interesting.
And the point is that it is his leadership style. What he brought to the job is leadership. And he's able to bring the big boys on board, the likes of Kwesi Furi and the likes of Kofi Kwachi, Edward Tabri, Ramona Dauphin, and many of those big boys who know what the job is. And that is what is giving him the results. People must understand that it's a complex environment, and it's as much as he's doing his very best to clean up the system. The details are that there's a little bit more they can do about it, and there's much work to be done. In this 3 space, if you ask me what he needs to do, is to continue in that direction, and where issues of public safety has come to the fore, like the report we are discussing, they should give it the necessary attention. And I believe that with the support of the team we have, they will be able to come out successfully in many of the areas they have the resources to deal with.
Nanaya, let me wrap up with you. So going forward, what's the Bureau of Public Safety expecting, first of all, from the general public, and then there's the aspect of the law enforcement agencies and even government itself?
Well, I think Senior Richard has mentioned police engagement with the public. I think it's something that we cannot underestimate. Police work actually thrives on information. And so they must make all efforts to build bridges with the public, coordinate with the public so that they will be able to get the capital they need to do their job, which is information. Number 2, both of you mentioned Dan Parry, Dr. Dan Parry. I think he's a great guy. I met him a day before he was sworn in. I think he has good plans. We did a survey about the police under his administration, and it looked good. I'm looking forward to June 30th, when we will have the half-year report. Then we'll be able to fairly say that this is a Dan Parry report, and this is how the country is faring under Dan Parry after 8 months. So look out for that June half-year report.
We'll certainly be on the lookout for that.
And then also, I think the police must work on the visibility program, which is almost fizzling out, because we realize that most of these violent crimes did not occur in the homes of people. They occurred while people were in transit. And if the police are no longer on the roads, that is what the criminals will take over. That's how the criminals will take over the transitional spaces and perpetrate their acts.
In fact, I was going to ask about the recommendations for individuals as well. What's contained in that report? What should we be mindful of?
I think I have indicated. Let me just reiterate it.
Yes, particularly what the report says about, because it might be a general case, but the individual also needs to take some precautions.
I mentioned transitional spaces. These are spaces where you do not have control over who enters and who comes in and who goes out. In these spaces, when you find yourself in transitional spaces, we expect the individual to be aware of his environment. So reminded that if you are sitting in a park, that is a transitional space. If you are walking on the road, that is a transitional space. If you are in your car, that is a transitional space that people can approach you at any time, show you a gun and pick your valuables or even murder you. And so when we find ourselves in such transitional spaces, at least the data says that 78% of all the violent crimes, the murder, the armed robbery, and the aggravated assaults all occurred most of them, 78% occurred in transitional spaces. So individuals must be aware of their environment. Awareness will buy them time. Time will buy them options, and then they'll be able to not to become targets of criminals.
Well, good afternoon, Chair. I'm grateful that you've been able to join us both. Nana Yaw Akwada, Executive Director for the Bureau of Public Safety, Richard Kumado, Security Consultant, and also a fraud consultant as well. Thank you for joining us this afternoon as well. We're keeping our eyes on this. The Ghana Revenue Authority is racing against time to finalize modalities for the implementation of the controversial electronic transaction levy law. An engagement with the Finance Ministry is scheduled to resolve key anomalies in the electronic transactions law, which could significantly impact some Ghanaians when the tax is implemented in exactly 3 weeks. Responding to viewers' concerns on the probe on the JoyNews channel last night, Principal Revenue Officer, Project Management Unit at the GRA, Isaac Kobna Amwako, admitted that salaries paid through mobile money will attract the E-levy. Even though salaries would have already been taxed, he says the Momo transactions are not exempt from the tax. Listen.
We'll only identify the charging entity, that's the MTNs, the banks, and then they will collect it from you, they will account it to the GRA. So you, the final person paying, it will not be linked to your account.
Okay, so it will not accrue to my account at the GRA that I've paid. As an income tax. I paid this much taxes.
It's not payment on accounts.
Oh, why?
Indirect taxes, it's like a form of an indirect tax. Indirect taxes don't accrue to your income. That's basic taxation.
Okay.
For indirect taxes.
Okay. I hear a black whispering in my ear, for instance, that if she's paid this month, she's the highest paid in the newsroom, for instance. So if she's paid this month, her salary, and she takes it via Momo. Mobile money. Will she be taxed E-levy?
Yes, she will be taxed because of how the law has been crafted. Yes. She will be taxed again.
And hers goes beyond 10,000 and above, so she will still be paying.
So I think that is something that has come to our attention. We've referred it to our superiors to look at it.
Okay.
For now, the law seems to have captured everybody. Disbursements from corporate mobile accounts. In fact, for the banks, the disbursement from corporate account was not mentioned. So it's clear that that is exempt. But in the Momo, there was no distinction between the corporate Momo account and individual Momo account. So that is where we've received some kind of feedback from the public that would affect salaries, loan disbursement, so many other things, which we've referred to the ministry. So I believe some kind of answer will come out of that.
On that.
It's actually a lot more from the authority, which is, however, explaining that the scope of exemptions on how persons who transfer monies between their own accounts can be avoided being taxed. And we know that the Principal Revenue Officer and Head of Compliance at the Domestic Tax Revenue Unit of the GRA, Victor Yao Agbo, has been explaining further into those matters.
A cumulative transfer of 100 Ghana cedis per day made by the same person, E-levy not applicable. 2, a transfer between accounts owned by the same person, I have a Fidelity account and I transfer money to my GCB account, I'm doing the transfer, E-levy will not apply. If I transfer to my EcoBank account, my Prudential Bank account, my CBJ account, E-levy will not apply because it is the same person who owns the account. And his Ghana card has shown his clear identity from all the various banks that he's the same person. So E-levy will not apply. Okay. 3, E-levy will not apply where payments are made for taxes. When we are paying for taxes, fees, charges, using the Ghana.gov platform, E-levy will not apply. Or any designated government payment system, E-levy will not apply. Then we also say that transfer between principal, master agents, and agents account, E-levy will not apply. Then finally, we talk about E-levy will not apply where there is electronic clearing of checks. E-levy will not apply. Finally, specified merchant payment also, E-levy will not be applied. So these are the category of transaction or persons that E-levy will not apply.
Well, and thanks for staying with us here on the Pulse on the Joy News channel. My name is Blessed Sogah. Stay with us. We'll return shortly after this break. And you're welcome back to the Pulse. Now, experts are warning that parts of the Weija Hill close to the toll booth faces imminent collapse. They say that human activities like sand mining and also blasting of rocks have affected that part of the ridge. Hence, heavy rainfall or earthquake in the area can result in a landslide. Maxwell Agbagba reports that in spite of the warning, some residents say they feel safe. He has been speaking to them as part of the Joy in My Community program on the Joy News channel.
The captivating view of part of the Weija Hill overlooking the Accra Cape Coast Highway. Beautiful view which continues to attract estate and private developers. A team of experts visited the Weija Ridge some weeks ago and passed a scary verdict. They say as a result of the human activities such as sand mining and quarrying activities, the hill has become weak and faces imminent collapse.
We are coming to you from the community on a hill, the Weija Ridge, which has been described by the Ghana Geological Survey Authority and the Environmental Protection Agency as a ticking time bomb. But the residents here think otherwise. We hear from the experts and the people.
Very difficult for us to get to school because when we are climbing, when we step on the rocks, it's normally...
Here on a part of the Weija Hill, I've met 14-year-old Richmond Sikapa, the Form 1 student of the AME Zion School in Kaswa, just returned from school. He loves it here, but hates the tremor that he says usually occurs at night.
It was very terrible. Sometimes when it rains, the earthquake, it feels like when you are in the building, it shakes the building. So we become scared.
So usually it happens around what time? At night?
Yeah, sometimes. At night, sometimes at day.
Okay. Do you remember the last time it happened?
Last year.
Last year?
Yeah.
Okay. But can you tell, what is it like living here?
Yeah, when it rains, it becomes very cold here. So when you go to the where they sell things to go and sell things, usually they don't come because of the earthquake. They are scared.
Okay.
So all the people hide in their room.
Okay. Samuel Okan has lived on the Weija Ridge since 2000. He says access to potable drinking water remains a challenge. He tells me that for a very long time, residents here have not had water flowing through their taps. He's concerned about the quarrying activities on the hill as well. But tells me that has stopped for some time now after the intervention of city authorities.
This place, our main challenges are the roads. There's no water. Okay. This place, the tremor, you can be there sometimes, you experience it twice or 3 times a day. Wow. Very sharp. You get up on your bed, then it's just gone.
Yeah. This is dangerous.
Yeah, they done it because they quarry the sand for other work at, I think, around Tetekwashi interchange. This is where they had the sand.
Okay.
To fill those places. So that side, there's an erosion part there, which it could be a landslide one day. That down there could be a landslide. Oh, living at that edge there is dangerous. And people still quarrying stones over there. You go there, they are there quarrying stones. And nobody, the Environmental Protection Agency, the Municipal Assembly, nothing is done about it. You go, you see them there.
Kwesi has lived in this community for the past 2 decades. He tells me that as a result of the human activity on this hill, anytime it rains, there's a collection of silt onto the main Accra Kaswa highway, just some meters away from where I'm standing. It says that usually causes a gridlock on the stretch.
The road to the community, the road is very bad. And whenever it rains, the road always wash away the soil from the road, and it's very difficult for the cars to come to the town. There's no dangerous at the top there. But when they started taking the sands from the mountain, they came to stop them, and they've stopped. But when you go to the top there just like where we are now. It's very safe and nothingness. Supposing they are continuing using that site for stone quarry and those things, I'll say it will be dangerous. But what they've stopped now, it is not going to be dangerous. It's okay.
Justice Adegbe has also lived in this community for the past 20 years. He's equally concerned about the silt that is usually dumped on the main Accra Kaswa Road after every rainfall. He wants government to take urgent steps to fill up the huge hole that has been left here on this hill. He believes that when that is done, the silt that is usually washed down the hill will stop.
They have these contractors, they come to the gravels were collected from this very part of the mountain, and then after they left the place unprotected, like maybe they left the place unprotected, and then they left it ajar. So when it rains, the force from the mountain pushes the rain towards this direction, which has dug a very big hole at the top there. So all the time when it rains, it just flows to the main street, and then it blocks the street. When it goes to the top there, when you check, it's very awful. You will not be very happy when you see that particular hole. It's my major concern about I want the government to do something about that particular thing. It's not good. When you pass this there, even as you personally as a man, with the courage you have, when you get there, your film, it will go. Even passing there, it's very dreadful.
We've been to the Weija Ridge, and we've seen the danger there on that ridge. We've been interacting with residents. Many of them feel that there's no danger at all. But we're here to hear from the expert. We're here at the National Seismological Observatory to hear from an expert. He's a principal seismologist here, Nicholas Opoku. He was part of a team of experts who visited the Weija Ridge some days ago. Is it a satellite dish?
This is a satellite dish.
Okay.
Yes. It's part of the earthquake monitoring equipment or setup for monitoring vibrations of the ground in Ghana.
Okay.
Yes. So what we have sensitive equipment that detects vibrations of the ground.
Okay.
And we've placed them at different locations purposely to monitor earthquakes. When a bigger earthquake occurs, this mountain can undergo landslides because the mountain itself is unstable from geological point of view.
Okay.
And so once
is it the Weija Ridge?
The Weija Ridge mountain, yes.
Yeah.
Especially the parts closer to the toll booth area and some selected areas have a lot of soft rocks in it. So they are inherently weak. And because it's also an earthquake-prone zone, it has undergone serious, various shaking in the past. Okay, so you can see a lot of fractures in the rocks. So they are actually weak. So it makes the place more prone to landslides. So even under gravity, you can have a landslide.
Wow.
And these landslides are also normally exacerbated by earthquakes, because when earthquake occurs, they add more load to destabilize the slopes. It also compounds the risk of landslides in the area.
Okay.
The materials are loose, so when it rains heavily, it adds so much load to destabilize the slope. So they weather it, they erode it all the way to engulf the down settlement. And so those who are settling down on the roadside, such materials will go and engulf them. And also because it's also eroding the hills, and there are also buildings on top of the hills. Okay, so it means their foundation is being washed away. And so a time will come that even buildings on top will also be affected. It's more, some aspect has to do with engineering solution, because unfortunately it's a very tall mountain. So you can see the slope is very, very steep, and because we have also cut it, and we have also cut it closer to the buildings on top. So it's difficult to bench it from engineering point of view to stabilize it. You understand? But so surely I think there should be a way at engineering solution aimed at destabilizing the slope. But then, of course, still some elements of structures which are at high risk also needs to be deconcentrated from the area, to reduce the level of risk in the area.
So that would mean demolishing some of the structures? Or?
Yes, if they are at high risk, sure, then some of them, those at high risk, ought to be.
Now, stakeholders in the fight against child marriage have commended the multimedia group for its impactful reportage of the phenomenon in the Ashanti region. At least 10 juveniles who were married off to men 3 times their age were saved through a collaboration between the Ghana Police Service and the Domestic Violence and Victim Support Unit, DOVSU, as well. And we know that the traumatized victims, some of those who considered suicide to end their pains, were featured in our JoyNews hotline documentary, Child Bride, put together by Ohimintevia. The stakeholders include UNICEF, DOVSU, and the Psychiatric Association of Ghana. They say that such initiatives go a long way towards improving the situations of the vulnerable in society. Ohimintevia has the rest of the story.
She was married off to a man in a country she doesn't know.
Ghana is home to over 2 million child brides. That is according to UNICEF. The Child Bride project did not only investigate and rescue victims, but also ensured victims enrolled in school, while recalcitrant parents and relatives were prosecuted.
You've taken the lead, and let me congratulate you for taking the lead and for showing concern that yes, it's something that is dear to your heart. You recognize the problem and that you believe that you also need to do your part. I will request other media houses to do the same.
Ashanti Regional DOVSU Commander, Superintendent Susanna Derry, described the multimedia group's intervention as life-saving.
Multimedia, when they were involved in this, through their effort, we have gotten admission for some of the girls, and I'm specifically happy for this girl who was taken outside Ghana and she escaped. because she had then completed BEC, and she was to go to SS, and they took her away. You see, admissions and all that was almost done, but the multimedia was able to get, with their maybe networking, they were able to get a school. Rescues that are done in the night. We cannot get social welfare to permit us to get to the shelter and all that. They are able to see some hoteliers who will offer to keep such victims.
UNICEF warns Ghana risk missing out on meeting the Sustainable Development Goal 5 of eliminating all harmful practices such as child, early and forced marriage by 2030. Joyce Odame is the Child Protection Officer at UNICEF, an international organization working in more than 190 countries to reach out to most disadvantaged children. She is enthused by the role played by the multimedia group in reaching out to disadvantaged children.
I must commend multimedia for demonstrating this kind of interest and commitment to this issue that is plaguing our country. Definitely the government alone cannot, do it.
For the president of the Psychiatric Association of Ghana, the energy level of the multimedia group amazes her. Dr. Ruth Oswemji wants more of such initiatives from MGL.
I say a big kudos to multimedia. You do all. And when people sit somewhere, they may not even think about an issue like this. And sometimes I get amazed that people who are lay in terms of lay in the mental health sector would think deep about issues pertaining to mental health. It amazes me and actually impresses me, and it is a good work multimedia is doing.
The two-part Child Bride documentary has increased discussion on the issue with a call from victims for more action to end the practice. From Kumasi, for JoyNews, Weija Hills reporting.
And you can always have a playback of Child Bride on all of our social media handles at JoyNews on TV. Now, as part of measures to rid of filth and indiscriminate waste disposal in the Techiman municipality and its environs, the leadership of the Church of Pentecost, with support from the Techiman Traditional Council and the Municipal Assembly, embarked on a cleanup exercise across the principal streets of Techiman. The move, which forms part of the church's nationwide sanitation program dubbed Environmental Care Campaign, is amongst other things to inculcate the spirit of cleanliness into the citizenry. There's more in this report.
Hundreds of members of the Church of Pentecost, in partnership with the Techiman Traditional Council, the Municipal Assembly and the Muslim community, embarked on a massive cleanup exercise as a move to rid of filth and indiscriminate waste disposal in the Techiman municipality and its environs. The exercise forms part of the church's social responsibility to educate the masses on the dangers of environmental pollution and also challenge them to become agents of environmental cleanliness. Pastor John Enswa is the Techiman Area Secretary of the church.
We started this campaign about 2 or 3 years ago, and it's all about ensuring that our communities are very clean, our environment is very nice, and therefore we have taken it upon ourselves, the Church of Pentecost and other affiliate organizations. We have come together to ensure that the whole community of the Techiman Township is very clean. That is the purpose of the campaign that we want to embark upon.
Nana Amponsah Takra II is the Ankobia Hene of the Techiman Traditional Council. He spoke on behalf of the Oman Hene of the Techiman Traditional Council and charged members of the public to be part of the exercise and noted that people found littering the municipality will be punished according to the law.
We are entreating all Ghanaians to emulate what we are doing, because it will not be fair to see Techiman clean and then you go to the outskirts of Techiman, or let's say the nearby towns in the Bono East per se, and then you will see dirt around. And then there is also punishments that will be given to those who think that they are above the law, those who would be littering around. In Techiman, if we see anybody littering around, we will invite you to the Omaihene's palace for you to come and tell us why you think you can litter around when Nananom and then the pastors have come to clean the city.
Meanwhile, Municipal Chief Executive for Techiman Benjamin Yaojako expressed disappointment at the public's response to the exercise and appealed for a change in attitude towards such exercises.
I'm so happy about the turn of events and the patronage. What I observe, which I'm not all that enthused, is that the shops, though did not open as we asked them not to until the exercise is over, but most of the shop operators did not participate. They closed their shop and then were watching us cleaning. I don't think it's a good sign of responsiveness.
Bono East Regional Manager of Zoom Lion, George Menu, used the opportunity to announce that the municipality is introducing a polluter pay policy to help address the sanitation challenges of the area.
As part of ensuring the sustainability of this program and these activities, Zoom Lion is partnering with the Techiman Municipal Assembly to introduce a program that we call Pay As You Dump, or the polluter pay principle. What this means is that the public community containers that we have, going forward, the Assembly is going to put up strategies and policies to ensure that when people come to dump, they will pay a token. And what this means is that there will be sustainability of waste management within the municipality.
Reporting for Joy News, Anas Sabit, Techiman.
Now, in a related development, Minister for Water and Sanitation, Cecilia Bernarda, says her outfit will make sure that all unscrupulous persons are dealt with according to the law if found culpable of tampering with the water supply system, thereby causing financial loss to the states. Now, she indicates that her ministry is therefore liaising with the Ghana Water Company to embark on a house-to-house audit of water supply on an unannounced date. The minister made this revelation during a press briefing earlier today.
I just had the idea this morning and have shared with the MD of Ghana Water Company Limited. The details will be worked out. We need to do this. We will not be afraid of those who put beware of wild dogs on their doors. We will go in there, find out, just to cross-check. I know most Ghanaians are honest, but the bad nuts amongst us must be exposed. Given the date, it's a secret date, because we don't want people to just look at the schedule, disconnect, and then connect when we are off. It will be a constant, sustainable way of making sure we reduce our non-revenue losses with regard to people who do illegal mining, illegal connections, and deny other people, other citizens of water.
The Deputy Minister for Lands and Natural Resources in charge of lands and forestry, Benito Osubio, has inaugurated the Bono East Regional Lands Commission office with a call for effective land administration for sustainable development. The minister, at a brief ceremony in Techiman, highlighted the significance of the office and noted that the new edifice will bring land administration close to the people at the local level and drive inclusive development. Anas Sabit was there in our report.
In line with Article 258 and 2601 of the 1992 Constitution, which mandates the creation of the Lands Commission's regional offices across the country, the Deputy Minister for Lands and Natural Resources in charge of lands and forestry, Benito Osubio, has commissioned the Bono East Regional Lands Commission office. The move, according to the Deputy Minister, is to, amongst other things, help in the facilitation of land-related documentations for the people of the region.
Nana Chairman, in accordance with Article 261 of the 1992 Constitution, which provides that the Lands Commission shall have a branch in each region to be known as Regional Lands Commission for the performance of the functions specified in Article 258 of this Constitution, it became necessary to take steps to establish the regional offices of the Commission.
The Deputy Minister further highlighted some socio-economic importance of the new office, adding that the fully furnished regional office will boost investor confidence and reduce the usual delays associated with the processing of land documents.
Nana Chairman, the era when applicants have to travel for hours from Techimai, Kintampo, Nkuranza, Kwame Danso, etc., to access land administration services in Sunyani has become a thing of the past. Thus, the unofficial cost associated with land administration service will now reduce drastically. Nana Chairman, what is unique about the establishment of offices in the new regions is that the offices shall operate in a fully digital environment. This will help achieve speed and reduce the usual delays associated with processing of documents in manual environment.
Chairman of the occasion and Ankobiahin of the Techiman Traditional Council, who spoke on behalf of the Overlord of Techiman, Nana Amponsa Yeboah Takra II, expressed joy for the commissioner of the office and noted that the new office would aid residents to appropriately register their lands, thereby reduce land disputes in the region.
Today is a remarkable day. The Lands Commission, I would say, it's one of the offices that the people of this region had yearned to see this day. So I believe that the good people of the Bono East region would always do the needful by registering their lands when it is possible to do so.
Board chair of the Regional Lands Commission, Mary Ama Kodom Ajman, on her part disclosed that the commission is embarking on a campaign aimed at sensitizing the public on the need to complete their land documentation processes.
The Bono East Regional Lands Commission will embark on a strategic multi-stakeholder sensitization, consultation and engagement in collaboration with identified partners. The commissioners and secretariat also recognize the urgent need to encourage people not to abandon the processes of documenting their land interests. Therefore, following the inaugurations, one of the key things we will be doing is to embark on a campaign that Operation Complete Your Land Documentation Process.
Bono East Regional Coordinating Director George Padmore Mensah, who represented the regional minister, urged the commission to effectively deliver on their mandate to promote the judicious use of land in the Bono East region and ensure that land use in the region is in accordance to sustainable development principles. Reporting for Joy News, Anas Sabit, Techiman.
And back here in the studio, the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission is asking the Ghana Water Company in the central region to adopt local solutions to resolving its water production challenges. This follows a complaint by the Ghana Water Company that water shortages in Cape Coast and its environs are as a result of Galamsey activities that sometimes leave some of their production sites with no water to process. Speaking at an engagement session with the Ghana Water Company, Executive Director of the PERC, Dr. Ishmael Aka, entreated the company to resolve the issues as the national approach to resolving the challenges may take a while longer. Richard Kojonyako was there and now reports.
However, because there's a trade-off, see, when the raw water source is so bad, you cannot put in too much chemicals beyond the needs of a human being. So we have to also be measured in not introducing too much. That will tend to be a disadvantage when it is used for human consumption. And let me quickly add that the color alone of the water doesn't imply that it is not wholesome.
Central Regional Manager of the Ghana Water Company, Kwesi Abebrese, reacting to issues about water shortages and what is accounting for the challenge in supplying water to some of its customers in Cape Coast and its environs.
With the infiltration of Galamsey, even the quality of the raw source of water turns bad. Then volumes also reduce. Then it gets to our intake. Now we have to struggle. So, for instance, in a very bad situation, you may not get sufficient quantities of water to even extract before you start the production process. So for some of our production centers, there's no water to produce. Then for areas that we can produce the water, the extraction becomes difficult. For some, we even have to do desilting at the edges of the intake to create more room for the volumes to build up.
He says if care is not taken, the situation may get dire, and appeal to the residents to help protect the water sources.
Then it means regularly we have to do what is called backwashing, because it clogs the dirt, clogs our machines in a shorter period instead of allowing the production process to be longer. So we have to break production and clean our filters before we restart production. Because of breaks and then restarting, you may have to do 12 hours or less. So eventually, in terms of labor, our staff on the plant, the effort, electricity cost, chemical cost, all combined together increases the cost of the production at particular production centers, depending on how bad the raw water source. I would say it is more rampant now than it used to be in the past. We'll be very glad if we see all of ourselves as stakeholders in ensuring that a day will not come that Ghana will import water. We are praying that the government and all other, even the ordinary citizen, when they see some of these activities, should promptly report so that together we fight against this menace, which may, in the long run, affect the whole country.
Executive Director of the PURC, Dr. Ishmael Aka, urged the Ghana Water Company to adopt localized solutions to resolve the challenges by engaging the communities around the water sources to put their shoulders to the wheel in order to deal with the challenge.
So a number of water bodies which Ghana Water was using to serve Cape Coast and its environs are being polluted because of galamsey. So they need to do more, go extra to deal with that. What we have advised as PURC is to, one, let some of these challenges known to the communities, known to everybody, to work with the media, to work with community leaders, chiefs and others, to come out with localized strategies. We know that at the national level, there are task force and other things, but what can we do at the local level to preserve our water bodies so we get quality water? So that's the first one. The second is that in some areas, because of this challenge, they don't get water at all. So Ghana Water has already started investing in some polytanks, Brewa and other areas. So we also have encouraged them to work with our team to ensure that areas, especially those that are elevated in high areas where they are not getting water, they invest in polytanks for them to also get some reliable supply of water. So these are some of the suggestions we provided, and going to work with them to ensure that people get one, quality water and reliable service too.
For the residents here who've been battling with water shortage, it is their hope that the issues would be resolved and they will see water flow through their taps on a daily basis. Reporting for JoyNews, Richard Kwejenyako, Cape Coast.
Now, though prison service continues to strive towards achieving the objective, the target is sometimes missed due to the financial and logistical challenges and constraints they have. The Kumasi Central Prison, in its effort to meet reformation of inmates, is strengthening relationships with the various institutions, including religious entities, to deal with the challenges that they have. Nana Yao Jima joined a church service in Kumasi Central Prisons and filed this report.
Instrumentalists of the prison's church backs a singing group from the Agrek Kumasi SDA Church as they lead a song ministration in worship. Visitors from the SDA Church take to the dance floor as some inmates also enjoy the songs. The sermon today focused on reformation of all present. Many of the inmates are either enrolled in formal or technical education offered by the service. but the facility is challenged with infrastructure for the reformation process. The former education unit here runs both the junior and senior high schools courses from the same classroom as the inmates take turns to study.
We have a school here, both junior high and then senior high.
Superintendent Emmanuel Labi explains the need for partnership with corporate and religious groups for the reformation.
Whatever we provide for them and whatever government provides for them will not be adequate for them. So we are encouraging people to come and support. In every small way that you have, you can come and support these inmates so that their lives will be better. When they are able to reform and go out to be better citizens, it will benefit the whole society.
Already, the Seventh-day Adventist Church at Agrek, Kumasi offers support to inmates. Michael Donkokunedu is head pastor.
Some came here as a result of their wrongdoings. Some also came here because probably an incident happened and they entered there and they were just like captured. And we saw it that we could also be in the same situation. So we should come to their aid and see to their welfare and their well-being. So we are entreating all others outside their families and churches, organizations and institutions to come to their aid.
The reformation process here at the prisons will need sustained support to achieve the goal of integrating inmates into society. Nanaya Ojima, Joy News, Kumasi.
And thanks for staying with us here on The Pulse. My name is Blair Sogah. We'll return shortly after this break.
Hello, good afternoon and welcome to the sports segment here on the JoyNews Pulse with me, Oreku Wampofo. We'll be talking about the English Premier League, and that's because we're getting ready for what should be a dramatic closing of the title race, as Manchester City and Liverpool are still separated by 1 point, because when the two of them met each other this weekend, they couldn't be separated yet again. 2-2 ended, but our focus is not on the game. We're doing a bit of foresight to look at the fixtures remaining for the two teams and who is most likely to be going on with the Premier League title this season. And joining me in studio is Joel Botte of the Joy Sports team. Joel, it's good to have you. Just then, let's start off with the match itself. 2-2, fair results for you?
Fair results because both managers have shown the level to which they play, and you can tell from this game that it was a very, very tactical game. Manchester City dominated most of it in terms of possession, and Liverpool struggled trying to get the attackers in place. But, I mean, with what they have in terms of the fullbacks in Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold, they definitely can create chances in there for them, and that's how they were able to get goals for Jota and Mane. So these are some of the things. I just believe that this game, it went beyond just the players. It went into what the coaches could lay out in terms of tactics and get that win for themselves. But good result, a draw.
Well, both coaches did say that the remaining 7 games have to be won if they had to stand a chance. Of course, as things do stand, Manchester City do have everything within their rights and it's in their hands. If they do win all their 7 games, they are Premier League champions. Let's take a look at the fixtures for the red and blue side as they compete for the title once again. And let's go through Liverpool's fixtures quickly. Man United, Everton, Newcastle, Tottenham, Aston Villa, Southampton, and then Wolves. Do you see them going 7 games with victories in all of them, as Jurgen Klopp is saying?
Liverpool, with how they play, I believe they have the team to take them through the 7 games. But I believe they are facing opposition that could definitely worry them. And if you look at, they have the likes of Tottenham coming in there, and they also have Aston Villa, who, though they've struggled a bit, they definitely do worry because they have this rivalry, not necessarily rivalry, but they have a coach who has played for them and would definitely want to prove a point to why he could definitely take up the mantle of one day coaching the Liverpool side. He could definitely cause trouble with the attackers that he has in Oli Watkins and Coutinho, who also played for Liverpool. Also, when we look in there, Newcastle have been on an incredible run. They've definitely played to the level that we expected them to play after making those signings during the transfer window in January. And so these are some of the games that I believe could cause a bit of trouble in there for them, but I see them going through, getting the 7 wins.
You don't think Man United or Tottenham Hotspur would pose any threat?
Said earlier, Tottenham would pose a threat. It's Man United that I don't see them as a threat because they are really struggling right now. They do have an attacker in Cristiano Ronaldo, but I don't see how they'll be able to come up against a well-coached team such as Liverpool. They are playing at home. That's Anfield, and we know what Anfield means to Liverpool. So it'll be difficult for Man United to get a result, even though it's a big game.
And the Merseyside derby?
I said earlier, Everton too will be a problem because they are also trying to get out of the relegation zone. So these are just a few games that would cause a bit of trouble. But I still do see Liverpool getting the 7 wins, especially if they continue this run that they've been on, getting the early goals and trying to put pressure on their teams. They always do that. And whenever they take an early lead this season, they've not really lost a game. So hopefully they're able to keep that record.
And for Man City, they play Brighton, Watford, Leeds, Newcastle, Wolves, West Ham, Aston Villa. Not really any top side in sight. What do you make of that?
So in comparison to Liverpool, then I would say that Manchester City have the advantage because they play much easier fixtures. And though they are in other competitions, which could definitely change how their schedule would be, I still see them as the favourites for this title because you look at they play Brighton at home, they play Watford at home, they play Leeds. These are middle to bottom league table teams, and Manchester City have been top against such teams. They've not really dropped that many points against those teams. So I believe they could definitely get the trophy. Looking at where they stand at the moment, they lead by a point, and we know how the English Premier League is. Even with 1 point, it still makes a difference. So if they're able to hold on to it with the fixtures that they have, the only tough opposition I would also see is Aston Villa in there and possibly Wolves, because Wolves has worried Manchester City in the past. But then aside that, I think Manchester City can take the title.
Well, we did see these two sides in recent times go 98 points, 97 points, with Manchester City edging it out. It may not be that high in terms of the point tally. We may see a 95, 94 if both teams do go through and win all of their fixtures. But before we go, Joel, who is the favorite for you? Who is this in the end, looking at the fixtures that both of them do have?
I'm tipping Manchester City to win it. In terms of the form, how they've played, the opposition, the caliber of players. I mean, they have what it takes to definitely see how they've done it before. We saw them even come from behind when Liverpool used to lead in that title race where it was 98, 97. And I do see that happening now, not with Liverpool overtaking, but with Manchester City holding on to the lead up top on the English Premier League table. They will definitely take the trophy home.
All right, thank you very much, Joel. That's how we wrap up the sports segment here. You can get some more sports stories on myjoyonline.com/sports, or follow us on social media at JoySportsGH on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. My name is Ore Kwampofo, and that's how we wrap up the sport here. Remember, you can get more sports stories when we come your way with sports on to JoyNews Prime at 8:15.
Well, and that's all we have for you in this package of the polls. My name is Blessed Sogah. Don't forget that we have more updates for you on our website, myjoyonline.com. And next is Let's Talk Showbiz. Stay here on the Joy News channel.